Are you an ambitious girly? You're killing it at your career, you're on top of your fitness, you have friendships coming out of your ears for days, and you have all the spiritual practices to match. On the outside, it seems like you've got everything, but on the inside, you feel like there's something missing, like there's this pit, empty feeling in your stomach when you don't have that relationship or partner. Maybe this irrational fear is coming through that you're going to die alone. Maybe you're dating or in relationship and you'll find yourself becoming this anxious mush and having mini panic attacks in the car when you don't hear from them, when you're not receiving those good morning texts, you're not being able to focus on your career and your business until you hear from them. And when you do, you're overanalyzing those texts. You're feeling panicked when your partner takes too long to respond, or if you're noticing a shift in their body mood and you're wondering if something is off, thinking that maybe one day they will leave you for someone else. Chances are, if you're feeling all of this, wherever you are in your love life, that you're experiencing something called relationship anxiety. And this can be exhausting. But know that you are not alone, and relationships can be this place of joy and peace and not anxiety and fatigue. I want you to know that if you are experiencing relationship anxiety, that there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken and you're not too much or too needy or too sensitive or too dramatic. I know how this feels. You can feel so alone in this experience because maybe you're feeling ashamed to talk to people about what you're going through. Maybe you have done, and the responses have been just get over it or don't feel like that, which is quite unhelpful and unproductive. Well, the good news is that you're not alone. There are many people who have come together in the relationship rehab to heal and manage our attachment wounds and relationship anxiety. You can do this and it doesn't have to control you. So this is what we're going to go through in this episode at the relationship rehab. It's really taking you through what relationship anxiety actually is. So if you're in this space where you've noticed anxiety patterns in the past or it's happening for you in the present, maybe you're afraid to date again and to trust, or the relationship anxiety you feel is around the fear of never finding anyone again, then this episode is for you. This is what we are going to break down today. What it actually is, why it happened, and what are those signs to look out for, and most importantly, those practical tools and strategies that you can take away from this episode so you can start to feel more calm and secure in love. But before we begin, if you are someone who is like, yes, 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 this is me, I noticed this in myself, and you want to dive deeper into understanding and managing your attachment wounds and relationship anxiety, healing that anxious attachment style for good, we have a upcoming free masterclass on Sunday, February 16th, called Anxious to Anchored: How to Become Securely Attached in Relationships. And together we are going to take you on a journey of how you can go from being anxious and needy and overwhelmed with irrational thinking and feelings to feeling calm, anchored, and secure and confident in your dating and relationships. I'll be sharing insights, my own personal story, and a clearly defined roadmap for you to follow. So join us. It is absolutely free on Sunday, February 16th. The link is in the show notes. So let's begin the episode, How to Manage Relationship Anxiety. Welcome to the Relationship Rehab Podcast. I'm Sammy, a certified breakup and relationship coach, attachment specialist, former love addict, and spiritual junkie. This podcast is for you, the hopeless romantic who loves to love, and a safe space for us to explore and heal our attachment trauma, broken hearts, and love addictions. Together, we are on a mission to become the love of our own lives so we can have successful, healthy, secure relationships with others. So if you're ready to create a life and love beyond your wildest desires, you're in the right place. Your journey towards becoming more secure in love and life starts now. Hello, my loves, and welcome back to the Relationship Rehab. I am Samantha, your attachment trauma specialist and relationship coach and host of this channel. And today we are diving into the one of the most talked about topics when it comes to relationships, attachment styles, and all the things that we are about, which is relationship anxiety. Something that I have many experiences with and a lot of my clients and audience as well. We are more than acquainted with relationship anxiety, maybe more than we want to be. And this is the beautiful thing about our emotions is they are messages, they are signals for us to start to understand what's going on in our internal world. So relationship anxiety is actually one of the first signs that we will pay attention to or observe or see happening in our bodies and also in our minds to be able to take us on that path, on that journey towards healing attachment trauma and understanding our attachment style. So you might be here because you are going through experiences right now where you are noticing anxiety in your body when you are dating or when you are in relationship to someone, and or maybe you're single and you're noticing there's this internal anxiety around relationships in general, not being able to trust again, not being able to find someone again. Whatever it is, whatever your experience is, I just want you to know that you are not alone in this, that I have felt it many, many times, and we are all here in the relationship rehab to work through all of these experiences, to understand them, to acknowledge them, to even befriend them in order to release and manage and tolerate these beautiful emotions that are coming up, giving us those messages, like I said, that something is needing our attention in our internal world. So you might even notice that you are not an anxious person per se. You don't typically experience anxiety in your career or your friendships or in the gym, like in life in general. You don't pick up the signals that you are experiencing anxiety is only when you are in relationships, only when you are dating. And this is why it's a specific term of relationship anxiety. And it comes from our past, our childhood, the disrupted attachment that we have experienced where we didn't get our needs met as a child. And now we are pretty much reliving those experiences again in the present moment while we are in connection with another, someone that we see as our primary source of love, attention, validation, our partner, could even be a best friend as well that you're experiencing this with. So let's define it in the most simplest of terms. And I want to invite you as well to see if you can formulate your own meaning of what you believe relationship anxiety is, and pay attention to whether there's a positive or a negative connotation to this, because it's neither here nor there. It's not good nor bad. It just is. And when we can see it from this place of just is, when we can just observe what is happening in our bodies without applying any meaning or labels to it, this is when we can start to really lean into understanding and tolerating it. So relationship anxiety, it's the persistent fear that your relationship is at risk in some way, even when there is no real evidence. So you might think there's nothing to worry about. I have no evidence that he's going to leave me or that she's going to betray me or something bad is going to happen, but it's just there. It's there in the pit of my stomach. It's there weighing heavy on my chest, and I can't seem to shift it. And anxiety, like all our emotions, show up first and foremost in physical reactions. So in my experience, when I would start to observe me going into an anxious state, I would start to get hot. My temperature would rise. My heart rate would start beating really, really fast. I would start to sweat. Like I said, I would get really hot. My breathing would start to get shallow. I might even get the shakes. And I would start to just see this cloud, this fog. And I have such a discomforting feeling in my stomach, as if I want to throw up. Sometimes I'll feel it on my chest where there's just this heaviness, this tightness, this tension in my chest. My clients have also observed that their hair will start to fall out, will start to change. For me, my skin started to change. I had really bad acne because I was just constantly feeling anxious. That cortisol that is flooded in our body is just raging and just producing so much excess oil. A lot of my female clients will notice that their reproductive systems will stop. Your digestive system will slow down. Maybe you don't have an appetite, you can't eat. Your focus, the neocortex side of your brain will shut down. You can't focus, you can't concentrate, you can't recall memories. Everything is going into a panic. And this is because your body is going into what we call the parasympathetic nervous system, where it's going into this fight or flight response. There is a threat, a signaled threat, whether it's perceived or in our minds. But it doesn't matter. The body is picking up there is some sort of threat happening, and now we need to prepare for battle, pretty much. We need to prepare to fight and to get what we need because there's that risk of losing it, or we need to run away. And this is more of the avoidance side where they need to flee, they need to get away as quick as possible. So, this is what is happening on the body state. And it can either come from the bottom up or top down. It could be a felt sense, a smell, a sight. You hear something that is triggering something that is still stored, trauma stored in the body, and it is activating your attachment system and flooding your body with this cortisol. It might be a top down where you have a thought like, oh, he's not responding to my text message because he's probably seeing someone else right now. Maybe irrational, maybe not. But the thought is there. Then there is the subconscious vision. You might be thinking about them being with someone else or ghosting you. And already now you're living out that scenario in your mind. So your subconscious thinks that it's real. The amygdala in your brain is like, oh my God, we're in pain, we're at risk, we're a threat, we're at danger, and completely flood your body with cortisol. And then that is the experience that we have of anxiety. With this, coupled with the bodily responses and the cognitive responses, then comes the external results from that. It's also internal results of just overthinking and intrusive thoughts and catastrophizing, all the cognitive stuff that's happening over here. The internal bodily results may be the shaking, maybe that you just can't rest, you're very restless. And then the external results might be the over-analyzing text, over-analyzing people's behaviors, thinking that there's something bad going to happen and you need to brace yourself. And you're hyper vigilant to any small thing that could give you that signal that something is off. Then you might be seeking constant reassurance from your partner. Like, just keep telling me you love me. Tell me you're not going to leave me. Do you still love me? Are we okay? This fear of abandonment is completely taking you over. Even if you are in a stable relationship, you might be feeling this. Now, if you're in an unhealthy, toxic relationship and you're feeling anxious because there's inconsistency or there's patterns of behavior where they're just not showing up for you. They're offering the bare minimum. I mean, it's probably natural and normal to feel anxiety in these spaces, but it's for us to really take up that discernment of, okay, am I anxious because there is a clear reason why? Because they're so inconsistent and I never know when I'm going to hear from them. And that's information for me to be with. Or are they showing up for me? Are they maybe a little bit inconsistent, but my response to it is just really overwhelming, that is completely taking me over? Because the difference here is a more securely attached person, if they are dealing with someone who is inconsistent and not showing up in the way that they deserve, they will not be completely overwhelmed and engulfed by this fear, by this anxiety. Instead, they will observe what's happening. They won't make it about themselves, because that's another thing that anxiety will do to us is help us take it personally. They will almost like send those signals that it's about us. It's because this why is happening. But instead, they will just observe this behavior as separate from them. They're detaching themselves and they're like, I don't understand what's happening right now. And this is not something that I want and accept in my life. And they will act accordingly. Whereas the most anxiously attached person experiencing anxiety will lean in. I will chase. I will prove myself even more that I am the perfect person for you. I will please you into doing what I want and need, because only when you do what I want and need will I be okay. Will I feel safe? And when you are not happy, I'm not happy. So I need to change your mood in order for my mood to be changed, in order for me to feel safe. And the anxiously attached individual will get a lot of their safety in a relationship through close proximity, through a lot of intimacy, a lot of connection. And sometimes we find this just really engulfs the whole of our lives. We don't want to work anymore. We just want to be with this person because we're so afraid that when we're not with them, that they're going to leave us or something's going to happen that is going to disrupt the connection and the relationship. And we want to cling on to it so tightly. Whereas the more avoidantly attached individual require a lot of freedom in their relationships. That's what makes them feel safe when they are able to keep people at arm's length. And this is why anxious and avoidant relationships don't necessarily work well together unless the two individuals are doing the work on themselves. So you might be observing that you're avoiding difficult conversations and conflict and not wanting to rock the boat because you don't want anything to disrupt the relationship. You might be reacting impulsively, like pulling away or clinging or saying something that you don't mean in order to get a reaction. You might be projecting, blaming, shaming. You just want a reaction from them. And this goes back to what feels familiar for your attachment system. If you grew up in a household where your parents were constantly in conflict, or you had an emotionally unavailable parent, but your partner is showing up emotionally available and it doesn't feel familiar to your subconscious system, there's going to be an element of sabotage there. I noticed this in my own story when I was dating a guy who was giving me all that I wanted, all that I needed. He had all the patience in the world. He was a saint in that way, where he was so patient. It didn't feel familiar to me. I'm like, what's happening? We're not going into this shouting match where it's me against you and we need to do one up on each other, because that's what I observed in my childhood. He wanted instead to have a nice normal conversation. Like, what? Even though I wanted that on a conscious level, I didn't know how to be in that space. I needed to be able to work through those subconscious beliefs and trauma patterns that I was experiencing. So I want to share just a personal story of mine of when I started to realize that relationship anxiety was not only showing up in my dating and relationships, but completely sabotaging me as an individual and the life that I'm leading. So years ago, I'm from Wales and I was in Wales and I was dating this guy who on the best part of things was he was consistent, he was showing up and he was providing this element of safety and connection and reassurance in the relationship. But there were times where he couldn't respond to me immediately, of course, because he has work, he has family obligations, he has hobbies, he has things. But back then, I made him the center of my world. I didn't want to do anything that didn't involve him. And I completely lost my sense of self and identity. I just wanted to enmesh in him. If he had a zip, I would just crawl inside him. I was completely and utterly absorbed and infatuated by this person. Now, and this is the thing, when someone shows up for us consistently, we start to expect it. We start to expect like them to constantly respond to our messages right away. And someone might show up like that at the beginning of a dating situation because it's exciting. But then as the relationship moves forward, as it mellows out, we start to come back to ourselves and back to our lives. It is a normal process of a relationship timeline. But for the anxiously attached individual, they want to stay in that infatuated, drug-like space for as long as they can. So there was this one particular evening where we were just chatting, texting all day as we did. And then he did tell me that he was going to go to the gym in the evening. This was normal, but he didn't respond to my message. An hour went by, 2 hours went by, 3 hours went by. At this point, I'm just going mad. I'm going crazy. I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? I'm constantly looking at the phone, looking at the messages, wondering if there's going to be a response. All in the meantime, my mind is going mental with images that they are ghosting me, they're rejecting me, they're abandoning me. It's because I'm not good enough. It's because I'm not worthy. I'm useless. Like this bad person. No one wants to be with me. I went through a whole journey during this time. And I didn't hear from him for the rest of the night. I could not sleep. I felt so sick. I was having nightmares. I was running back and forth to the toilet with diarrhea because my digestive system was just completely disrupted at this point. And I was just completely consumed by this. And I even called in sick the next day from work because I just couldn't face going into work. I did social work, and which meant that I really did need to be on top of my game, and I just couldn't. And I remember being in bed after calling in sick. It was around 10 a.m. And I'm already in my head, he's ghosted me. Already I'm like preparing to go through this breakup again and to, be heartbroken and go into this vortex of just grief. And then he messages me. Casual, normal. Hey babe, sorry I didn't respond last night. I got caught up in the gym and then I had to go to my mother's and then this and I was just so tired. I fell asleep. I'm really sorry. I didn't message you back. How are you? And I'm like, oh my God. Okay. My first initial response was to get mad at him. I was like, how dare you not text me back? Do you know what I've been going through? But I didn't. The worst thing was I didn't say anything. I didn't address it. I just acted casual, acted cool, because I didn't want him to know that this was what was happening to me, that this was my experience. I felt stupid. I felt like an idiot. I felt like if he saw this side of me, if he knew that this was going on, like he's not going to want to be with me. Who's going to want to be with somebody who acts like this? So I pushed it down, I suppressed it, and I continued to battle with this anxiety on my own. It showed up in my face. Like I said, I had so much acne. I lost weight because I couldn't eat. I was completely and utterly consumed with this anxiety. I was sick all the time. I was always sick, which, of course, when you have a job or a business, is not good to be sick all the time. My immune system was so low. So, yeah. And I remember there being a moment where I thought, what the hell is happening? I don't feel like this all the time. I'm a confident, attractive, pretty good person. I'm ambitious, I'm intelligent, I'm a social worker, I've got degrees, I've got friends, I'm doing fitness competitions. Like, what's going on? Why do I feel like this? And this is when I really opened up that portal for curiosity, started to understand what was going on, wondering if other people also felt this way. And this is what began my journey of really understanding attachment styles, attachment trauma, and it completely changed my life. Like I said, this is where I used to be operating in my relationships from anxiety being an emotional reaction to all the anxious experiences that I was having, to now being in a healthy, secure relationship where I feel so much safety and peace and joy. And of course, you're the partner that you choose is an influence to that. This is why we need to have this integrity and discernment of who we are choosing to be in relationship with. But I could not attract this man until I was able to build up that secure attachment within myself. Because I was going after men that were not choosing me, that were giving me breadcrumbs of love and affection and validation because that's what felt familiar. So this is what I observed. If I wanted to have that healthy relationship that I so craved, I so deserved, I so wanted on a cognitive conscious level, I knew it started with me. I knew that I had to start to understand what was going on in my internal world in order to influence my external world. I had to raise my vibration, my energy, because everything is energy. We always feel people's energies. And if I'm going into dating situations with an anxious energy, a desperate energy, people are going to pick up on that. I needed to know how I can start to cultivate this calmness, this confidence about myself, this assurance, this deep attunement and connection to self. So I don't lose myself in relationships again. So I don't give all my energy and time and effort to somebody, that there's something left for me. And if you are in this space as well, where you want to know what that looks like, you want to be given a clear roadmap of how you can go from anxious to anchored. We have that free masterclass on Sunday, this February the 16th. So I'd love to invite you to join us to really start to do this work on yourself. Or maybe you already have and you just can't quite get past those blockages, those things that are just subconsciously sabotaging and protecting you from being able to open your heart, from being able to release all of that past trauma and past pain so you can relax, so you can feel safe, either in relationship to self and with others. They're connected, they're intertwined. So there's three reasons why relationship anxiety happens. And the first one we've already spoken about, which is the attachment trauma and system that we have developed as a child. So typically insecure attachment styles, whether it's anxious avoidant or fearful avoidant, get created because our needs were not met when we were a child. Maybe our physical needs were met of shelter, of clothes, of food, but our emotional needs of love, attention, connection, attunement, trust, autonomy were disrupted in some way. And that is the wiring that has now happened from within. And now that is our experience of the world. That's our experience of our relationship. It's ingrained in us subconsciously. But like I said, the good news is that we can rewire these neurons, neuroplasticity. We can start to change and transform the way that we see ourselves and others and relationships. But in the meantime, until we do that, our nervous system is wired to look for threats and familiar patterns. It's constantly in this space of feeling anxious and fearful and worried. And we often affirm the beliefs that we carry. So if we have a belief that we're not enough or that we're not worthy or we're not important because of the experiences from our childhood, our subconscious is going to look for evidence to confirm it. So, for example, if we are in relationship and we are afraid that they're going to leave us because we're not good enough, this is the subconscious belief and patterning, and we are constantly being consumed by this. We're constantly being hyper vigilant every single day that he's going to leave eventually. He's going to leave eventually because I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. And then all of a sudden he leaves, and you're like, I knew it. I knew this would happen. I want you to just observe what your behavior was like in that relationship. Were you clinging on to the relationship so dearly because you were driven by this belief that they're going to leave eventually because you're not enough? Are you showing up in a way that you're putting yourself down and you're just insecure about how you look because you believe that you're not enough? So I'm not saying that you are to blame. Absolutely not. No one is to blame here. No one is to blame. It is just all observations. Even if you feel like your partner's to blame for something, observe what's happening with them. They have their own traumas and flaws and things going on. And sometimes it causes friction in relationships we have with others when we are operating from a space of insecurity, of trauma, of these subconscious beliefs about ourselves. So this attachment trauma has been formulated from our childhood, from the disrupted attunement and attachment that we've had with our parents, and now that's replaying in our present lives with our partners. And therefore, we are then hyper vigilant to disruption and disconnect. So, if we feel like the attachment that we have with someone is being disrupted or is disconnecting, we lean in, we think we're going to be abandoned. The second one is past relationship wounds. This could be with our parents. This could be with our early relationships. If you've been betrayed, ghosted, emotionally neglected, your nervous system and your brain is going to anticipate pain, is going to protect you from pain as much as possible. Even when things are safe, they want to protect you. That is your brain's and body's only job. It is not to make you happy. It is to keep you safe. And we think it's going to happen again. That memory has been stamped and stored in the hippocampus in our brain. And now, if we are signaling, we are observing a threat, may not even be happening yet, but it's a threat, it's a sign, we think it's going to happen again. And they'll try to protect us and they'll sabotage us. So it could be coming from this space. And the third one is the internal conditioned beliefs that we have about love and about how relationships are meant to be. A lot of us don't have a healthy experience or role model of what a healthy, secure relationship is. Maybe you had parents that argued all the time. I know I did. I had parents that tried to do one up on each other all the time. I had parents that were really living in survival mode and they were so stressed from the daily stresses of life. Like we didn't have much money and both parents were working two jobs and there was just so much disconnect. There was so much disruption with themselves and with us as children. So then we started to formulate these conditioned beliefs because children are egocentric and we believe that everything is about us. So if my parents are getting divorced or they're arguing or they're ignoring me or they're shaming me or they're dismissing me, it must be my fault. It must be because I did something wrong, said something wrong, did something wrong. Maybe it's because I'm not enough. Maybe it's because I'm not worthy. Maybe it's because I'm not important. Maybe it's because I'm a bad person. There's something wrong with me. That's how beliefs are formed. We might believe that we have to earn love. If our parents didn't give us love so freely and willingly because they've got their own stuff going on, we had to really work to get their attention, to get their praise. And that's the perfectionism in me now, that I have to be perfect. I have to prove myself. I have to please others in order to be liked, in order to be loved, in order to be accepted and have my needs met. So, is there a belief that you're not lovable unless you're perfect? Is love hard to get because of your experiences? And lastly, let's talk about how you can start to manage relationship anxiety. So, I'm going to take you through 4 simple steps that you can take away with you today from this episode. And the first one, as always, starts with awareness, becoming aware of your experience, becoming aware of how your body is reacting when triggered, becoming aware of the thoughts that you're having, the invasive, intrusive, conditioned thoughts and beliefs that are coming up for you, and start building up this inventory of awareness. Notice when you're going to a space of overthinking. And this is all from my own personal experience and what I coach all my clients through as well. Every time you are triggered is an invitation, is an opportunity for us to get curious. When we're going into a space of overthinking, when we're going into a space of anxiety, ask ourselves, what's happening right now? And just observe, just observe. Even start to bring down that overwhelm, asking yourself, is this fear based on facts or feelings? You can start to use and exercise your discernment. Is there a reason why I'm feeling anxious right now? Or is it something that I'm experiencing inside that may be something from my past? And then start to offer yourself some reframes. And this starts with a compassion element. Because often or not, we shame ourselves for feeling anxious. We push it down, and this really is the worst thing that you can do. Really is the worst thing you can do is suppress your anxiety, is to not move it through and not release it, but shame yourself from it, to criticize yourself for it. Maybe you've been shamed and criticized in the past for having emotions, for having these types of feelings. We're not doing that to ourselves anymore. We're bringing in this concept of reparenting. I'm no longer shaming and blaming and criticizing myself for this. I'm not putting myself down, no longer. Instead, I'm going to meet myself with grace, with compassion, and with curiosity. So just because I feel anxious doesn't mean that I've done something wrong. It doesn't mean that there's something intrinsically wrong with me. It doesn't mean that anything is going to happen in the relationship. So just offering ourselves this compassion, this reassurance, it's not going to solve all the problems, but is a great starting point of being that person for ourselves, of offering that reassurance. The second is to self-soothe. This was an absolute game changer in my journey, is learning how to soothe my anxiety, because I didn't know how to do that. I was running to my partners. I was running to my friends. I was running to everyone else except myself to soothe my emotions. I didn't know how to take responsibility for them. I didn't know how to manage them. It's not that I didn't want to, I didn't know how to. So start small if this is where you're beginning, or really if you're along in your journey and you want to strengthen that attunement to yourself, just ask yourself, what brings me into connection with myself? What did I used to enjoy so much as a child where I just got myself lost in the flow? What what exercises, what practices can I try? Because we're all different. What's going to work for me is going to be different for you. What exercises can I try that are going to support me? And I'm going to give you a few examples now. Start with grounding practices because when we are in anxiety, we're either living in the past or we're living in the future. So we're either replaying past experiences, fearful that it's going to happen again, or we're future pacing. We're catastrophizing. We're thinking, oh my God, this is what the future looks like. And before we know it, we're sucked into that and it's actually happening in our present moment, but it's not. Bring yourself back to the present moment. Movement. Bring some movement into your practices. One thing that I started doing a lot when I was learning self-soothing was yoga. Massive, so big, so life transforming for me to the point where I'm going to do my yoga training in Nepal next month because I believe in it so much. It really helped me with my anxiety. Yoga, big, big one. Walking, exercise in the gym to be able to move so it doesn't get stuck in your body. And then couple that up with some breathing, some breath work, deep breathing. Movement also encourages us to take these deep breaths, journaling, affirmations. Start to play with these practices and see what resonates for you. And I'd love for you to reach out to me as well on the channel, on Instagram, and let me know what grounding techniques really support you. And we can help each other with some ideas as well. The third one is to build that self-security, coming back to that sense of attunement. Because of our unmet needs in childhood, we have become less attuned to ourselves and more attuned to others because that's what protected us in the past. If we are more attuned to mum and dad because we don't know what's going to happen, we don't know from a day-to-day basis if they're going to show up for me or not. So you needed to be attuned to them back then, but that's not happening anymore. You are a grown adult. And you can now bring that back to yourself and start to get attuned with your feelings, with your needs, with yourself, strengthening your identity outside of the relationship. Another thing that really game changed everything for me was holding on to myself when I was dating. So I made a promise to myself that I will no longer cancel plans with friends. I lost all my friends when I was in my early 20s because I wanted to make myself so available for this person, for my partner. And I didn't want to spend time with my friends, as horrible as that sounded, but I wanted to just be with them all the time because I was driven by this fear of abandonment. Whereas now that I've done the work on myself, I've got my tools, I've reprogrammed my beliefs. I'm like, okay, I need to be able to strengthen and sustain my identity so I don't lose my core self when I'm in relationship with another. Instead of falling into dependence, I can go into interdependence. So your hobbies, your friendship, your self-care routines and habits, your work, really make sure you sustain those areas of your life as you're dating. Don't cancel. Don't give them up. Don't stop going to the classes, to the hobbies that you have. So when you build that solid foundation in yourself, regardless of what happened in the relationship, outside of the relationship, you have your own back. You have that source of connection to yourself, and nothing else matters. Your relationship with yourself is the most important one that you will ever going to have. You gotta stop showing up for yourself. And the last one is communication. I'm such a communication geek. I'm obsessed with communication. I feel like if all of us just started to communicate a lot more with each other, the world would be a better place. And of course, we have our fears. Of course, we have our blockages. Get curious about those. What is stopping you from being able to be a calm and confident communicator? Pick up on those fears, pluck them out, work with them, and communicate in a secure way. The way that I communicate with my partner now is something that I could never have imagined for my life. The way, and of course, your partner also, is a big influence in this, being able to provide that safe environment for you to communicate, of course. But how much are we stepping into that? Are we creating that safe environment for ourselves to communicate our feelings, our needs, our desires, our boundaries, our vulnerabilities, our traumas, whatever we're going through? Because the more we feel safe, the more we are able to be vulnerable and open with ourselves and with others. And then just a last bonus one as well is to really commit to yourself, commit to this journey that you're on, because my loves, I can't even put it into words how phenomenal, life-changing it can be when you commit to this. And it's not comfortable, it's not easy, and it's not quick. Anyone trying to sell you those things of quick fixes, I would be wary of trusting them, because this is years and years of conditioned patterns and trauma and ways of being. It's going to take time. Be patient with yourself, be committed to yourself, and don't do this alone. Don't do this alone. Get yourself into therapy, into coaching, into counseling, whatever is right for you. I have an episode on that as to how you can start to differentiate the three and pick the one that works best for you. My programs are a blend of therapy and coaching because I believe in both and I believe in a holistic approach. Maybe going to a specialist specifies in inner child work. Maybe something has been brought up. It's like, this is it. This is the root. And I need to find a specialist that specifically works with this, whatever that is. And leaning into this attachment healing journey. Surround yourself with communities. I have so many free communities because when we come together, we heal together. Surround yourself with friends and people in person that can really support you and really see you and understand you. If you don't have that, find them online. There are so many. Don't do this alone. You're not meant to do this alone. We are not meant to be in this world alone. And that's all I have for you today, my loves. So to summarize, relationship anxiety, it does not mean, it is not a reflection of you. It doesn't mean that you're unlovable, that you're not enough, or that you're destined to be alone forever. It is just a pattern. It is just an experience that can be rewired, that can be transformed into something so incredibly beautiful. And to be able to be that portal, to go within, that self-awareness and self-connection that can come from that is absolutely astounding. So reflect on today's episode and let me know, reach out to me, what really landed for you, what was your biggest takeaway, and reflect on how all of this is feeling for you right now. Tap into your body right now, placing that hand on your heart, and ask yourself, how am I feeling? How is this making me feel? How am I now listening to this episode? Do I feel inspired and motivated or overwhelmed? Everything is welcome. And like I said, if you want to dive deeper into this topic and continue this conversation, continue this work with me on healing your anxious attachment and managing relationship anxiety, I would love for you to come to the live masterclass, Anxious to Anchored, Becoming Securely Attached in Relationships. And join me. I'd love to have you there. Let's keep talking about this. Let's keep healing with this. The link is in the show notes. So I'm so excited to see you there live with me. And I'm going to leave you with this beautiful phrase. Love should feel like a safe place, not a constant source of stress and anxiety. You are worthy of secure, healthy love, and that starts with learning how to anchor yourself. All my love, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining me on the Relationship Rehab podcast. I hope that this episode has supported you in healing, growing, and evolving out of insecure attachment and unhealthy relationship patterns and into safe, authentic love with yourself and others. If you enjoyed the episode, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would just take a second to rate and review this podcast. Every rating and review from you guys counts, as it really helps this podcast to grow so it can reach more people who need to hear this content. And don't forget to connect with me on social media. Take a screenshot of this podcast episode, share it on your IG stories, and tag me at the.relationship.rehab with your biggest takeaway from the episode. I really do love reading them. See you back here next week for another episode on the Relationship Rehab Podcast.